Hello everyone, I'm here to show you the Atari Jaguar. The Jaguar was released in 1993 and it came out at a bad time because when this system first came out, the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo was in their prime. A lot of great games were coming out for both systems and people were just way too busy with those systems. So to come out with another system was pretty much a risky move. You know, unlike today where you have the Wii, PS3, 360, and to some extent with the PS2. Back then, you know, you had two dedicated consoles and there were just a lot of games just coming out for those systems and people just didn't want to be bothered with another system. Another why the system didn't do too well was the fact that most of the games kind of sucked. And that's unfortunate because the graphical potential with the system was actually really high. There were actually some good looking games on here. One example is Doom. Now you may be thinking, well, Doom was on the Super Nintendo, so what's the difference? Well, the Super Nintendo version had to use the Super FX chip. And the game ran like shit. It ran very slow. It was very choppy. It was not in full screen. And there was no textures on the floor or on the ceiling. This is essentially the PC port, straight PC port. But of course, the only difference with this one is that there's no in-game music. And you know, it kind of sucks, but I'd rather have no music during gameplay than have music and the game being very crappy gameplay wise. And the gameplay on this system for Doom is really good. It was actually one of the better versions for the consoles. So the system is cartridge based, of course. You got your Jaguar emblem, power button, two controller ports, cartridge port. On the back here, your power plug, RF, AV, and your expansion port. This is the power plug. Typical Genesis, Super Nintendo type plug. And if you use RF, this is the RF box, but this is essentially the Nintendo Gray style box, so you don't have to get this one. But I have this because it's Jaguar. But, you know, RF kind of sucks, so why not upgrade it to AV cables? So this is how it looks. And now, before I get to the controller, this is how a typical Atari Jaguar cartridge looks. You got the Atari, whatever the name is for the game, and your arch. So you put that in there. And it actually looks pretty decent. This is actually a really good looking system, I think. There was a CD add-on, of course, and that just goes on top. And then there was a cartridge port that you just place it on top. Now I kind of wish this system had a CD attachment from the start instead of using cartridge. I think this system would have really benefited from the CD-ROM. But, you know, they went with a cartridge route. And, you know, as older systems, you know, for in today's world, you know, cartridge games are getting pretty hard to find. You pretty much have to rely on classic game stores or the internet. It's not like CD based games where, you know, these old ones had no copy protection, no region, no nothing. You could just burn onto a disc, put it in there and start playing, you know, just like how the 3DO was. But this one, if you want cartridge games for it, you have to actually buy them. Now, this is how a typical Atari Jaguar package looks. And, you know, I actually like how these packages are. You know, it's essentially it's like a precursor to how the Sony PlayStation's box were. You know, if you remember the PlayStation boxes, they weren't in those jewel cases. They were actually in these big bulky ones. And if you actually compare the layout between the two, it's very similar. You know, you got the black border here, much like on the Jaguar. And, you know, unlike, you know, where it says PlayStation here, they put the Jaguar there, they put a picture of the game there. And, you know, a very similar layout. Now, I always like the idea of putting a picture of a gameplay right on the front. This is a typical manual. Some games had overlays. They're made out of, you know, thin plastic. And they're meant to go on the controller, which I'm going to get to right now. This is the controller. This is the 3-button version. There is a 6-button version. You know, it had 3 more buttons, and they actually added triggers to them. But this is just the 3-button. And here's your foam pad down here, which you can put your overlay on, like so. So, like if you're playing Doom, in this case, you use this to select your weapon. So it's like, alright, I need the shotgun, bam. Oh, I need let me get the BFG, bam, right there. Ooh, I need to look at the map, right there. And you know, it's all good. The only problem is, they put pictures of what these buttons do. And, you know, when you're playing the game, you have to look off screen and look at this. And that's a no-no. That's basically the biggest problem with this controller, is the fact that you have to look at the controller. Another issue I have is these face buttons here. They're way too curved up. They should be more curved from left to right. Because as I move my thumb back and forth, it's almost, you know, straight. And they should curve these more. So, you know, I have to like force myself to go up, or, you know, put the thumb down here, up, there. You know, it should have been more left to right. But overall, this controller is actually really comfortable to hold. And that's pretty much it with the system. You know, once you have everything plugged in, you know, you have a plug like that, and you're, you know, pretty much good to go. Now, there were some problems with this system. Mainly when you boot it up, you know, once in a while you'll get that red screen. And that's because there's a bad connection between the cartridge and the system. So most of the time you just place it back in and you're good to go. I never really had this problem with this system, so I might be lucky over there. But I do have a game called Club Drive. It does not work. Doesn't matter how hard I try, how much I clean it, this cartridge is just broken. So that's out. But everything else works. Alright, that's my take on this system. And yeah, have a good one.